Hello, happy Sunday, everybody. I just want to let you know this is what we're going to talk about today. So Forbes says that we're stuck. Homeowners are now stuck because they're being forced to pay more in homeowners insurance and taxes. We're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about what Bankrate says. It says 5 housing markets that are about to plummet. So we're going to get your opinion about that if you think this is true. And then, of course, if you're going to talk about 5 markets that are about to plummet, let's talk about the 10 markets they say that people are going to start moving to and they have affordable housing. We're going to be talking about all those things with you today. But before we do that, we need to run the intro. So Eddie, go ahead and run that intro, please.
Get ready. Kristina's live stream is about to start.
Tiny homes, big dreams, stacking up the cream. Modular escapes, not just what it seems. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams. Kristina on the stream, showing schemes to the team. Tiny living planes, soaring high supremes. Locks in a box, making mad streams. Affordable palace fitting in the beams.
I'm trying to fluff my hair. It's flat. It's flat today. I hope everybody is enjoying their Christmas break. I'm sure several of you have gotten a little extra time off. Happy Hanukkah to all of our Jewish friends in the audience. I appreciate you guys here. Oh, look, Eddie even put a little happy Hanukkah. Thank you, Eddie. I didn't know you did that. Happy Hanukkah. So we have on this show talked about several times that property insurance has gone like crazy, especially if you live in those coastal areas. Like we're talking Florida, Louisiana, Texas, even parts of Alabama, anywhere that's close to the coastline. I'm not even near the coastline, and I've talked about this several times. My homeowners insurance doubled from the year before, and a lot of people are facing, they're facing this not knowing what they're going to do next year if it goes up again, especially if it goes up at that rate. Then on top of it all, then when you add the fact that their property values have gone up, then what else goes up? Of course, property taxes have gone up. So people that are living on fixed incomes or limited incomes are facing a conundrum right now. Some experts have said, and I don't know if I necessarily believe this, but some experts said that this is going to be the start of the next housing crash. I don't know if that would be the catalyst to the next housing crash, but I do think that people with limited incomes will be greatly affected by this. I think as higher you get into the price point of a home, I don't think those homeowners will have this necessarily as much of a problem. But they say that what makes me think about this is the boomers that are on limited incomes, it could affect them and they could go not necessarily in foreclosure, but be forced to sell. And that could be interesting to see what happens to a housing market. Now, is that going to make a crash? Let's not get too hasty there. Let's not get too hasty there. So Eddie, can we show that article right away? Do you, there is a poll question there that says, do you think that homeowners insurance and taxes is going to be the thing that causes people to be forced to sell? And I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say in that poll there. Eddie, can you pull up that article for me, please? All right. I forgot. This is by Forbes, isn't it, Eddie? I think that's what I wrote down. Yeah, Forbes. It's Forbes. Yeah, it's Forbes. Homeowners feel stuck amid rising taxes and insurance costs. All right, we could scroll down. Of course, I have to do the free articles because, go ahead. Thank you, Edward. Oh, Eddie's trying to size it up so we can see it. Rising property taxes and homeowners insurance premiums present a mounting challenge to the financial health and decision-making strategies of homeowners. It's important for homeowners and prospective buyers alike to understand the implication in this environment. Now, you guys in the chat, are you facing troubles like affording your house because of homeowners insurance? I'm interested to know. And if you haven't heard, mortgage rates have climbed up again. That's a chart for the mortgage rates. Go ahead and scroll down, Eddie. Thank you. Since the pandemic, homeowners in the United States have seen a huge spike in real estate values. This led to an increase of more than 25% in the median single-family home home property taxes since 2019, according to CoreLogic data. That mainly because the homeowners pay into property taxes and it's tied to the home's assessed value, a number that can fluctuate from one state to the next, even among counties and municipalities in the same state. From 2019 to 2023, the median price for a single family home in the US saw a staggering rise, about 40% reported. The peak prices were 480,000 before settling at approximately around 417,000. And oh, we got a super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Oh, I did not know Jimmy Carter passed away. Thank you for letting the audience know. I was unaware that Jimmy Carter passed away. You're like our news source right here. Oh, he died at 100 years old. Wow, that's impressive. Well, Jimmy, you did a lot. You did a lot in 100 years. I don't know what to say. So sorry to hear that. All right. Peak prices at 480,000 before settling in at approximately 417,000 on the surface for older homeowners looking to downsize. That rise in value is ideal. That rise in value is ideal, but downsizing destinations have surged in the environment as well, coupled with the higher for longer interest rates. This can complicate it for, if not derail plans of downsizing in the near future, leaving seniors to grapple with higher tax bills and on their current homes. And we've talked about this numerous times. It's like we've talked about the locked in effect, but the homeowners that have lived in their house, let's just say they're on their 25th year of their mortgage. Refinancing their mortgage wasn't in their cards because look, they were like at 30 years empty nesters. I'm looking to move out. They look at the rate that the houses have gone up in the area and they're like, yeah, that's fantastic. Their house probably needs a little updating, not too much, but where are they going to go? Like if this was their house that they raised their family in, and then the median price home in that area is so much higher than they can even afford, and then you add the property taxes and the insurance, that's why a lot of these people are what they call locked in place or retiring in place, because where can they go? Even at like what used to be a really great retirement destination like Florida, the insurance and the property taxes alone has locked people out. And then, of course, homes have gotten so incredibly expensive there. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. CoreLogic's data shows that in 2023, the U.S. median property taxes for all properties reached $2,826. That's $539 higher than it was in 2019, translating to a 23% increase over the last 4 years. This uptick is even more pronounced among reassessed properties, where the median taxes climbed $2,943, up by $612 or 26% since 2019. Yep. All real estate is local. In my area, multiple clients have been affected by expiration of the popular New York City property tax abatement program in 2022. The details are timing and vary, with buildings ranging from 10 to 25 years for their expirations when taxes will revert to the full payments of the buildings in the 421 program. The transition period from fully abated taxes to 100% can happen in over several years. So this was something new to me because I've never lived in a city, but a lot of buildings have like condo buildings and everything else that they're building, they'll have abatement taxes where there's like a massive discount of taxes for X amount of years. And then they have to pay the full price. So some people are going to be getting those bills even in the big cities. That was new to me. I didn't know that. My brother and I were looking at condos and they were like, oh, it still has, 10 years of abatement taxes on these condos. And I was like, we don't do that here in Louisiana. So that was a new term for me. So I had to look that up. Skyrocketing home insurance costs are impacting homeowners nearly across the board, but particularly in burdensome area, senior living and fixed incomes, with the average annual premium now hovering around an unprecedented $2,511 per Market Watch guide. The financial foundation of the household budgets is now stretched even thinner. And if you think about it, like the cost of medical care has gone up, it's for everybody. Medical care costs so much more. And if you're a senior, you're going to need medical care more than you were, if you're younger. That's just the facts of life. If you put those costs and then the costs of medications, the cost of your health insurance, the cost of your mortgage payments, the cost of your taxes, and then you add this extra charge on top of it, it does leave some seniors who are on fixed incomes with a choice. I've seen it here in Louisiana. They're like, okay, I either pay my mortgage and my insurance and everything on time, or I eat, or I don't take my medication. Some people will just stretch out their medication because the medication is so expensive. They'll cut it in half just so they have something so they can survive in order to be able to afford to live. In some cases, this is getting to the point of desperation. So it says, looking ahead, the forecast remains grim, with the projections indicating a further rise in premiums by a staggering 10 to 15%, according to the insights of Money Magazine. This trend does not merely reflect the vital dynamics within the housing and insurance sectors. It calls for homeowners to craft smart action plans to mitigate this growing financial strain, especially as inflation places an additional burden on U.S. households. But let me ask you this, and people that own a house, I want you to ask you this. When your home back in 2008, everybody's homes around that time had a reduction in value. Like the home prices and values of homes went down across the United States. Some areas even more than others. Did your homeowners insurance company say, hey, since the value of building a home and having your house replaced has gone down, we're going to reduce your premium? I have never, ever, 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 ever had them say, you know what, we're actually going to charge you less this year than we did last year. I've had it happen on my taxes. It was very little. My homeowners property taxes went down just a little bit. I think it was like $100 one time that they had done the assessment. But after that, I've never, ever, ever had my homeowners insurance go down. They've been making bank for years. S Corp Alpha says Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity was founded by President Carter, and it helped so many poor become homeowners. I did not know that. Wow. Oh, Eddie's going to pull it up. Look at Habitat for Humanity. He did a lot of stuff with solar power and stuff. They gave him so much garbage when he was president of all the things that he wanted to do, and he did do with trying to conserve energy and all these other things. And then later on they go, oh, I guess he was right. Whoops, sorry about that. Sorry. He was a good president. That he was a good president at the wrong time, I think. That's what I think what happened. People didn't like him. They didn't like him, and he did not get back. And people were really mad because inflation was out of control under his presidency, but it wasn't entirely his fault. So, all right, looking ahead. All right, we already read this part. All right, homeowners in coastal areas, like we talked about, and additional challenging about obtaining property insurance. Insurance companies have pulled out of coastal areas and canceling policies. This is true. This happened here in Louisiana. I used to have Progressive insurance at one time in Eddie and I's owning home career. We had State Farm. Then we've had the big name brands, but the big names kept pulling out of areas that they felt were threatening. When State Farm, they pulled out of freaking Central Florida. At that time, Central Florida had never had a massive hurricane. The biggest hurricane we had was Hurricane Charlie, and that was not that bad, in Central Florida. And they pulled out, and let me just say this. They didn't pull out. They just made the premiums so incredibly high that you didn't want to use them. So, and then we had Tower Hill. That was the only place that would insure us in Florida. We've had so many, and now we're with a very small insurance company because it's the only one that will insure us in this area. We are not, let me just remind you, we're not in a coastal area. So if they even find, some of these insurance companies, if they find that it's even a likely threat, they have the right to just pull out. They don't have to insure you. And if you do not have insurance and you happen to have a mortgage, the mortgage will force insurance on you. And that forced insurance, first of all, is super expensive, and it doesn't cover dog poop. It covers them as the mortgage broker, the mortgage holder. It will cover them. But as far as you, your contents, and the coverage you get, and not only that, the deductibles you have to pay, it's awful. It's absolutely terrible. By accident, one year, I hadn't wrote up the check in time, and so they forced this mortgage insurance, like property insurance on us. And I was like, holy crap, what is this? We got it fixed right away. Thank goodness. It only took me a couple days because, we had two policies at the same time, but it was literal garbage. And you can't not have it if you have a mortgage. You can't. They will force another mortgage policy on you and you won't like it. Yep. Eric the Blue says, I got hit with a double whammy for insurance. 20% increase for my condo's interior, and the condo property insurance for 2025 will double. Of course, HOA fees will go up to the compensate the offset. Yeah, well, it's true. It used to be that condos were the affordable housing option for many people, especially the elderly. Because the condo association dues, they were expensive, but they were reasonable. If you live in places like Florida and other areas that have been hit with these high insurance costs, they have added a ton of money. I was watching a news story of a woman who was in a condo, and when she bought the condo, the association dues the HOA dues were $250 or $200. And then they went up to $500. Now they're $2,000. They're actually more than her actual mortgage. So her association dues are now $2,000. And who's going to buy that now? Who's going to buy and take on that cost every single month for a condo when the mortgage is going to be, it's crazy. And they only go up from there because the insurance, if the insurance for the condo association goes up, that means it has to go on to the people that live in that area. It's, you're not the only one, Eric. A lot of people double whammied through their HOAs. No, most of my people that watch, most of the people that watch this channel are not a big fan of HOAs, and they do have their place. But I think that we've given too much power in a lot of areas to HOAs. So, yeah. Leanna Owen has a question. If my house on a tax statement is $142,000 and I owe $26,000, but sale of my home is for $66,000 to my daughter, will the gain on the house be $66,000 minus the $26,000 or $40,000? What about the tax statement? Your taxes are determined by the tax assessor's office. And they usually take a drone and they walk around and they give their own assessment. So that tax, whatever, even if you sold your house for $66,000, that doesn't mean that's what the tax assessor is going to assess your house as. There's an old cartoon that says the tax assessor looks at my house as this, mansion in the sky. And then you look at it as a regular, piece of property. But if there's any damage to your house done, the insurance company looks at it like a shack, and they're only willing to give you a little bit. As much as it used to be a joke, now that's exactly how it feels, 100%. Overjoyed said our HOA fees went up 40% in 2 years due to the insurance rate increases. Now an assessment to replace the roof and elevator modernization will be too much for some. Yeah, and I think some people are going to be forced to sell. But they're going to be forced to sell, but where are they going to go? You guys know as well as I do, there's not enough affordable housing to begin with. And if the condos were some people's very last option, where are they going to go from there? They're going to have to move out of state. Are they going to have to move away from their family? Are they going to have to move in with family? What's going to happen? It's interesting. Douglas Law says, question, do you think that the next recession from 2021 to 2022 supply shock will be labeled the big reset? Do I think it will be I don't know what they're going to label it. I don't know how they label anything. My whole opinion is always about housing, right? And we had a shortage of supply of housing before the pandemic started. I had been talking about it way before the pandemic had started. We had a lack of supply of homes on the market. All these people kept saying, "Oh, there's going to be a housing crash. All these people are going to regret it." When is it going to crash? Because we still don't have enough supply of homes. We still don't have a supply of affordable homes. And a lot of bigger areas, big city areas where there used to be a lot of affordable homes that not only have been snatched up by home buyers, but they've been snatched up by, big corporations. Nobody wants to talk about that. A lot of people that are on the corporation side saying they don't own that much. I disagree with that, because what they do is they may not own much in one specific area, but they concentrate how much they own in a specific area. So, it may not be down your street, but it's probably the town next to it. And they own, like, let's just say 20% of the real estate in that area. And that means that they can dictate the market price. My biggest concern, and I don't know how anybody will label anything. It's like that lady that I always laugh. They named her the Oracle of Wall Street. I don't know I don't know what they're going to label anything. Who knows? I always think it's funny. Oh, you guys, I want to show you. I got some new digs. Look, I put my play button up, and there's a kitty cat on there now. There's a little kitty cat. That's the representation of my cat, Miss Soapy. So I did a little redecorating. Look, it's all cleaned up back there. It looks good now. It's not a mess. Leona Owen says, question, how long do you have to look for a new house before you have to pay tax on gains of your sale? How long do you have to look for a new house before you have to pay tax on the gains of your sale? Eddie says, within 180 days. But you want to work with your financial advisor too, because there might be some kind of stipulation on how many days. Sometimes you get a little bit less or more. Like, work with somebody so you know what your 1031 exchange is going to be. Yep. Yeah, 1031 exchange. I've already said that, Eddie. Got it. Eddie wanted me to highlight, like, you see him, he was like, you didn't say that. I did say it. Eddie helped me put up some new curtains too. Like, there's a lot of real estate agents too that understand. I would work with a real estate agent in your area that specializes in 1031 exchanges, because sometimes they will have, or don't want to say she, I'm just thinking of somebody I know. They will have some that available for you, so you could, if you're looking to put it into a rental property, and how you could, flip that 1031 exchange in your favor. So, question from Proud Libel 24. Good to see you. Nice to see you. I'm glad always to see your smiling face, even though you're not smiling. I'm imagining in my brain that you're smiling. He says, or he or she says, when is it better to buy than to rent? What if you sell for exactly what you paid for 15 years later? Do you win by buying? The win by buying is this, because right now, in many areas, renting is cheaper than purchasing because of the interest rates and the cost of how much homes have gone up. You have to look at it this way. What is your long-term goal with your home? Are you looking to keep it so that way you have an appreciating asset that if something goes wrong that you can borrow against, that it's something you're planning on using wisely as this investment? Or are you looking to flip it in 5 years, right? If you're looking to flip it in 5 years and renting is cheaper than buying right now, I would save up a bigger nest egg and then find a better house. Like I would not suggest you buy a house at this point, but that it's all on an individual basis. You're going to have to check with your finances itself. In most cases, if renting is cheaper than buying, then you rent. But if you're planning on staying in this house for, the next 10, 15, 20 years, you won't regret buying because you have appreciating asset that you can borrow against when you get yourself in trouble. Who knows what that trouble could be? It could be that you have some kind of car accident or something and you have to replace your car. And then now you have this equity that you could borrow against your own borrow against your own money. You got to pay for your kids' college. You can use that, refinance your house, take out the equity from that house, borrow against it. It's a good thing to have when you have a house. It gives you a little bit of financial freedom that a lot of people don't like. You just don't have. If you've been paying rent for 15 years, where does all that rent go to? It goes towards the landlord's mortgage, not your own. And why do they have that house? It's for their own financial freedom. So it's going to be a case by case situation. If you plan on living in the house for only 3 years, don't buy a house. I mean, don't be silly. Don't be silly. I hope that answered your question, proud liberal. Da, 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 da. Question, impact fee. How does this work? Thank you. Impact fee. I don't know which impact fee you're referring to. I'm sorry. I don't have an answer for you. Peter says, question, is all the real estate actually local when the marginal buyer is coming from far away? Philosophize on that deep thought. Wow, Peter. You really want to get should we light some candles and drink some wine? All real estate is local, period. It doesn't matter where you're buying. Always real estate is local to that specific area. Neighborhood to neighborhood, the market is completely different. That's why it's really important to work with a local real estate agent. People have asked me, well, can't you just sell me a house in New Orleans? Absolutely not. I mean, I could. Technically, I could fill out the paperwork, fill out the lines and get my check and, call it a day. But I would not know the heartbeat of that area. I don't know where the local schools are and where, what's happening in that market and what the neighborhoods are like, or, anything, where the local restaurants are. All those things your local real estate agent would know, right? There are agents that are licensed in 3 different states and are like, I can do real estate anywhere. Can you? Can you really? I don't think so. No, I want to work. And I think every real estate agent and everybody in this audience to know that you should work with a real estate agent that is proficient in that area, that understands that area, understands what's been happening in the area, how certain areas were at one time depressed and now they're, skyrocketing, that have a finger on the pulse of the real rental market. Everybody's market is going to be completely different. And I would definitely work with an agent that is proficient in that specific area. I hope that answers your question. Again, Eddie, I don't know what impact fee. Oh, Eddie's going to pull it up. Key takeaways. Impact fee is typically a one-time payment imposed by the local government on a property developer. This fee is meant to offset financial impact the new development places on public infrastructure. Public infrastructure includes roads, schools, parks, recreations, facilities, water, sewage, and other services. In fact, impact fees are determined on the basis of the size of the new development and the cost of implementing it, and how much they will impact the surrounding area. Are you talking about like an impact fee on your taxes? Are you talking about an impact I know what an impact fee is for a developer, but what are we referring to? Is it something that you see on your property taxes, or is this some other fee that you're talking about? Is it with your condo association? Are they saying there's an impact fee on there? We need to know the relevance of that. Deplorable says, I hate impact fees. They're unconstitutional. How are they unconstitutional? I want to get your feedback on that. Proud Liberal 24 says, what is questionable when it comes to the closing costs? How should the closing costs be as a percentage of the purchase price? Okay, so everybody's closing costs are going to be completely different because it has to do with what their lender needs in order to close the loan. People that are like first-time home buyers are going to need much more in closing costs than someone that's coming in with a large nest egg of money, a down payment. Not all closing costs are the same, and they're not all reflective of the purchase price. Sometimes it's just that they have to have that extra in order to determine the closing costs. Now, I've had it where my buyers needed kind of a lot of money in closing costs. Again, this is always negotiable with the sellers. And I was really confused. I asked the buyers why they needed so much in closing costs. And they're like, I don't know. The lender says that we need it. And so I'm like, do you mind if I call your lender? And they're like, sure. And I come to find out they needed it for, they had kind of a lower credit score. They were trying to buy down their rate a little bit. They were trying to cover other costs. So that's why they needed so much in closing costs. So to wrap a percentage around it you need to talk to your lender first. So if your lender says that you need closing costs, talk to your lender and say, well, how much percentage should I be asking for each house? Like how much should I be asking for? Is it 2%, 3%? How much do I need for closing costs? So when I make an offer, I can put that in my offer. It's going to depend on the person. Yep. Charlton says, question. Even with the housing inspection, there is a statute of limit to sue the seller on undisclosed problems with the property, like zoning or subterra issues like sinkholes. Question. Okay, so here everybody's inspection laws are going to be different. Here, I'm going to tell you how it works here in Louisiana. You have the right to an inspection of any house you look at, right? And you have a window of time, and you have to specify in the contract how long that you're allowed to ask for any kind of repairs to be done to the house. And that within that window, you can terminate the contract for the house during that inspection period for any reason whatsoever. So let's just say you have a 10-day inspection period. Within those 10 days, you send an inspector over there. They say the roof is bad, the air conditioning's bad, and you have moles in the garden that look like they're very invasive and are chewing up wires. All these things. You do not have to, in the state of Louisiana, you don't have to send over that report to the sellers. You can if you want to, but you paid for it as a buyer, so you don't have to. All you have to do is say, I'm canceling contract due to inspection period. All right, let's just say this. Now you go and have an inspection done. Everything comes back in the inspection just fine. The seller fixes a few minor things, and it's about to close. You close on the house, you move in, and the neighbor comes over and says, oh, did you get everything fixed with that roof before you moved in? And you're like, what are you talking about? Oh, they were up there on the roof like a month ago fixing a hole. And then you go up in the attic and you're like, oh, I don't see anything. And then all of a sudden you have a rainstorm. Rain comes into the house and you're like, what the heck? So you call a roofing company over there and say, hey, all this rain came in the house. And the guy says, I told that guy that he needed a brand new roof. All he did was cover this up with some paint and, some new shingles to make it not look bad. But I told him he needed a brand new roof. And I've been telling him that for the last 5 years. I quoted him not even a month ago. Now you have yourself a lawsuit. You can sue him at that point. You get yourself a real estate attorney. You have a statement from the roofing company. You get a statement from the neighbor saying that they were over there, and now you can sue them for. The lawyer will determine how much you can sue them for. But if they withhold information, pertinent information to the structure of that house, we're not talking about death, not here in Louisiana, but if they withhold information, knowingly withhold that information, and you can prove it, you have yourself a heck of a case. Now, all the real estate here in Louisiana is sold as is at the time of closing, meaning that you had your inspection period and you're satisfied with the house. But after that closing, if they withheld pertinent information about that home, and you can prove that they withheld that information in order for you to buy it, they coerced you to buy it because they hid it, then you can sue them. Yep. You can sue them. It happens. It happens. Like years ago, I was looking at a house, not me personally, but I was looking at a house with some buyers, and there was this beautiful tree outside, beautiful. And I was like, I think there's something wrong with this foundation. And the sellers are like, oh no, there's nothing wrong with this foundation. And I told the buyers, I'm like, we need to have an inspection on this foundation because something feels wrong. Home inspector comes through, happens to be friends with the seller. And I'm one of these people. I have in my little kit when I go to show houses, I had a marble. It's about this big, and you can put it in the middle of a house, right? And it was rolling like this down the there weren't even wood floors. They were like vinyl plank, and they were going like this. This house had been redone. I'm like, this house has a foundation issue. He was like, well, all old houses shift. The inspector did. All houses shift. And I'm like, yeah, I think we should get a foundation inspector out here, but the buyers didn't want to pay for a foundation inspection, right? Sure enough, Christmas time rolls around, things are not quite adding up. They get the foundation people to come out there like, oh yeah, we knew this was a mess. We told them we couldn't fix it. We wouldn't fix it. I mean, what can you do? I mean, there's nothing we could do. They withheld the information. And so they went ahead and got a lawyer after that. I did everything I could. I told them, I even had them sign something. I advised them to get a foundation inspection, and they did not take my advice. So you live and you learn, that's for sure. Sometimes it doesn't help to save money, like an inspection is not, just to suck you out of more money. It's really a peace of mind. For most people, when they're buying their house, it's the most expensive thing that they purchase. You might as well spend that little bit of money up front so you're not having a huge headache down the road. Just saying. Impact fee, I thought it was a tax charge for the house you have to build here in southeastern Michigan. Every state's going to have a different impact fee. That is true. That usually is on to the developer, and it might be in your builder's contract, what the impact fee is for your specific area or for that specific building. But that's usually the impact fee has to do with the builder, and then it's passed on to you, but it's disclosed on what that impact fee is for that specific house. I heard it would be charged fee for the size of the new build. I'm sorry, I don't know much. I'm learning. I have a high credit. Thank you. Bless you. New Year. Oh, you have a blessed New Year as well. Yeah. It's going to be different for every area. The impact fee here for building a new house is going to be totally different than it is in Michigan. If they have a sales associate there or a real estate agent that you're working with, have them explain to you what the impact fee is for a brand new built home. Because it's going to be different. I can't give you a round number. G. Vaughn says, how much should I budget annually for home maintenance repairs on a paid off $500,000 house that's 2,000 square feet, not including property taxes? Thanks, from South Korea. Okay. This would be dependent. Are you living in the house or are you having renters in that house? Eddie, how much do we save for maintenance on our rentals for each one? Because, there's always something comes up. I mean, I swear to God, it's every single month. With renters, if for some reason, like the air conditioning goes out all the time. I mean, we never have these problems in our own home, but there's more wear and tear on a rental property. So that would be dependent on how much wear tear is on the house. But I would always budget for things like you're going to have to paint the outside. So how much is the outside painting going to cost you? Are you planning on doing it yourself, or are you going to hire somebody? Make sure that you clean it. You're going to have to do maintenance to the hot water system and your air conditioning. If you're in the South, you're going to have that air conditioning serviced at least twice a year, at minimum twice a year. If you're being really smart, do it 3 times a year. Have it serviced. That means they come out there, they check all the components, they add any kind of fluids that need it, just to make sure that air conditioning is kept up. You're always going to want to change out your air filters. You're going to want to check out on those smoke alarms. Like you're going to have to budget all those things out. You got to think about those things. Like, are you going to have someone come out there and inspect your roof every year? But if you have somebody inspect your roof, what they're trying to do is sell you a new roof. Just saying. Deplorable says, the world is so corrupt. I bought my own home. I pay cash for all my cars and I run my own business, but because I hate how corrupt the world is. Oh, okay. Well, not many people have not many people have that kind of money to buy their home cash. Not many people have enough money to buy a car outright cash. You're very fortunate. I'm happy for you that you're able to do that. I've had this comment in the comment section before, is like, why does anybody get a mortgage? Why don't they just go ahead and buy it cash? Well, not many people have $500,000 in their back pocket to buy a house cash. Not many people work jobs that will allow them to even save $500,000 cash to buy their first house. So you're very fortunate. I'm really happy for you. I wish my first house I was able to buy it cash. That would have been nice. I would have felt like a millionaire. My first house was $135,000, by the way. I would have felt so good. Trust 515 says, is there a list for rentals similar to the MLS that real estate agents have access to? A lot of real estate agents, especially in my area, have property management companies. And so if it's not on the MLS, we just contact our local property management companies that we know and ask if they have any rentals available. Rentals are not the same as far as listing wise as it is for the home, typical homes. You have to do a little more footwork, a little bit more legwork on that. A lot of real estate agents don't facilitate any kind of rental properties. There's some that are like, nope, I just work with the home sales. I don't do any kind of rentals. But no, there isn't a national list like Zillow or at like the MLS that that real estate agents have access to for rentals. And if they're in apartment buildings, we don't have any access. It's a completely different system. Completely different system. They're talking about making a national MLS, which I would greatly appreciate, since, that's what I think our dues should go towards when it comes to the National Association of Realtors. But, Creative Frugal says, joining late today. Thought today is people can't afford taxes and insurance, so there will be more homes on the market. Are you thinking that is what means for buyer's market and a better price? It could. I'm not saying. I mean, my crystal ball says that there's going to be a lot more people as they get those bill payments in that are going to be struggling. Does that mean that they're going to be forced to sell? Does that mean that they're going to be in foreclosure? We don't know. I mean, we don't know. If they're forced to sell and nobody's buying, then of course, then what happens? Then the price goes down. But we still have an excess amount of home buyers waiting on the sidelines for interest rates to go down. So if the interest rates continue to stay up and more home buyers or homeowners are forced to sell, then the market reacts in a way that it does allow for more homes to come down in price. But right now, this is just crystal ball guessing. The difference between, there's so many differences. Whenever somebody says, oh, this is going to be just like 2008, we're going to see the worst market crash in history. It isn't even the same like the same thing at all, not even remotely. We had people with bad mortgages. We had an excess of new homes that were on the market. We had an oversupply of homes, and not even close to the same thing. The oversupply of homes that were out there, and not enough people, or too many people got into loans that didn't deserve to get into a loan in the first place. Mortgage companies were giving people, $500,000 mortgages when they really could have only afforded a $250,000 home. And then there was predatory lending practices, by the way. And they would say to them, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. We're going to do this interest only. And in 5 years, it will reset, and you'll get enough equity, and then you'll have a down payment, and then you'll be able to afford the mortgage payment because, these mortgage rates are going to stay low forever. I mean, that's what they told people, and people that didn't have, didn't know any better believed them. A lot of lenders got themselves in trouble. This is not the same kind of situation with that. We're looking at insurance and taxes, property taxes that are too high for people. The difference also is that we just don't have enough smaller homes available. So does that mean that it just is going to allow for more first-time home buyers to find their first home? Could homes go down in price? They could. But then does that mean they'll go down in price and there's a higher interest rate? Yikes. Last week we talked about how the experts said that mortgage rates, they were optimistic with that mortgage rates were going to be coming down, and now they're not so optimistic, and they had changed their forecasts. I say we're going to be in the high sixes and into the sevens next year. That's for some people, that's just too high. Back in my day, the sevens were really good. I got my first house for 7.5%, but my house was only $135,000 too. So, time will tell. That's for sure. But I'm not predicting a 2008 housing crash. That's for darn sure. Oh, Eddie, you know what? After this next question, I wanted to show them the 5 markets that they say are going to bust. So we'll show that right after Charlton's question right here. So Charlton says, so inspections on the house, you recommend marry a handyman or a roofer? All right. So I will give you a little bit of real estate advice that I give to all of my past clients over the years. So you hire a home inspector to inspect the house, and he does the general overview of everything, right? He will say if everything is in working and operational order. If there's any question on that inspection report, let's just say he got in the attic and he said there are some water spots on the ceiling. To me, that says to me, I'm going to go ahead and call my buyer and say, hey, look, in your inspection report, it said that they saw water spots, but they didn't see indication of any water on the ground. But I still think we should get that looked at. Let's go ahead and hire a roof inspector to come out here and check the roof inside and out so we can know if there is a problem with the roof. That's one thing. Same thing with the plumber, like anything that was on that original inspection report that might be a little bit like, we need to take a closer look. I have the buyer go ahead and hire somebody out there. A lot of times, like a lot of these companies, not plumbers, but like roofing companies and some other vendors will do that inspection for free. As long as you say that if they find anything, you're going to use them as the repair person, which is, anything like your roof, the hot water heater, the air conditioning unit. If that comes up in the inspection report, ask the sellers to repair those items. It was their house. They should have that fixed before you move in. Always negotiate. If they're unwilling to do that, negotiate, say, hey, look, if you're unwilling to do it, it's going to cost me this much. So now reduce the price of the house this much because it's going to cost me out of my pocket. And it was your house to begin with. You want me to buy it? Fix your mistakes. It's all negotiations. That's what I would do. And he's got it. 5 markets is according Bankrate has it. It says 5 housing markets that will plummet in value over the next decade. So I'm going to ask you your opinion on this. If you guys think that these markets are going to plummet, go ahead and scroll down. I just want to show them the markets that are going to plummet. Da, 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 da. Okay, so the first one, they say this housing market in this city is going to plummet over the next decade. It says home values in Austin have only seen a slight decline over the past year, but houses for sale are staying on the market longer now than they used to, a sign that the housing market could be cooling off after years of rapid growth. Austin's market skyrocketed during the pandemic, particularly with the tech industry boom, but now we're seeing prices stabilized. So, do you think, I want to know, do you guys think that Austin, Texas is going to plummet? We're going to see like record numbers of homes being deducted in price. Do you think it's going to plummet? Yeah. Rick Smith says only 5 markets are going to plummet. Well, according to this article, only 5 of them. According to them, it's only going to be 5. I think, I mean, when we go over the 5, I'll tell you who I think is in trouble. Yeah. All right. People expect an economic crisis. There could be. Oh, he said never expect an economic crisis. It could be, yeah. All right, let's go to the next city. I don't think Austin, Texas is gonna like crash. That's for sure. Boise, Idaho. Now, this was a town I had no idea until the pandemic, how highly popular it was. They had as much growth in the cost of a home there as they did in Austin, Texas. It was wild. And even when it started to slow down, where it was like almost a screeching halt, the houses that were still selling, guess what, were the most affordable ones. Those smaller houses were only on the market for a whisper of time. Still to this day, it's like this. The ones that are bigger, of course, take longer. And it says, Go Banking Rates previously reported that home values in Boise will continue to rise, though at a slower pace than the decade earlier. Boise could be an example of a market that is simply no longer sustainable, the same rapid pace of growth. Well, I mean, I don't think anybody's going to get the same rapid pace of growth as we did during the pandemic. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know. Elena says Austin prices have to come down a bunch. They have a lot of new builds out there. I mean, it's very possible that we could see a price correction. I don't see the whole, floor falling out. That's what I don't see. So according to Boise, this is about Boise, the pandemic relocation wave greatly benefited Boise since prices were increased due to out-of-state buyers. Yeah, well, that's what happened to Austin too. Prices may adjust to reflect the decrease in local income levels with migration of decreases. Boise's home prices greatly exceeded income growth, rendering the market unsustainable for locals and possibly reducing the demand. They had a lot of industry move to Boise though. So is it gonna crash? Do you guys think that over the next decade that Boise, Idaho is gonna crash? I want to get your opinion. Just put like Idaho crash or no crash. Put crash or no crash from Boise, Idaho. I want to know. It's possible. I don't know enough about that city, but I found it interesting because I was like, when everybody was moving there during the pandemic, I was like, why Boise, Idaho? Of all areas, I was like, interesting. I mean, all the places you can move in the United States, but you pick Boise, Idaho. I didn't know it was huge. Austin's housing market is how quickly are homes selling now and for how much? This is posted on December 18th. So it says the MLS releases data each month to show the median price for homes in each county in Austin. All right. Sales within the city of Austin itself are also on this chart. As of November 2024, the median sales price for Austin Metro was $435,000. That's up from 2.4% year over year. The median sales price is the highest in the city of Austin itself at $573,000, and the lowest in Caldwell County at $286,000. So they're still going up, just not as not as rapidly as they were, but you could see they had a dip, man. They had a dip, but it's still trucking along. It is still trucking along. All right. Where's that next city? Did anybody say? Rick Smith said mashed potatoes are baked. Rick, you're funny. All right. So now we're into Orlando, Florida. This is my old stomping ground, Orlando, Florida. And I will tell you, Orlando is a funky city. Because everybody thinks Orlando, oh, that's where Mickey Mouse is. And that is in Kissimmee. And yes, there's a lot of tourism. And yes, the real estate over on that side of town is very expensive. But there's more to Orlando than just Disney, right? We lived in a county beyond Orlando. We lived in Altamont Springs, and you could see it was pretty instantaneous when everybody was flying high with the real estate market. You could see like the whole city had a whole different vibe, but it was like one day somebody came out and unplugged the lights, and everybody's attitude towards housing changed. It'll be interesting. I don't think it will ever crash out the way it did back in 2008 because there was so much new construction because they had a lot of land in that area. There isn't around that surrounding area, which is closest to Orlando. They've run out of places to actually build. Of course, you could still spread out Orlando, but in that direct area, I don't see it falling apart. So this is what the article says. Typical home values in Orlando have risen more than 2% year over year. But their signs demand is cooling. As of September 30th, 2024, about 2/3 of home sales were below the list price. That's not uncommon as sellers price their homes above what they expected to get. But it does show that there's not a ton of buyers out there competing for homes and driving prices higher. I'm going to say this too, right? We know, because we just talked about this, one of the biggest states that are having the problem with the property taxes and homeowners insurance is Orlando. So the appeal to live in Orlando might be dwindling because people are thinking, I don't know if I can afford the insurance. Not only that, I don't want to be forced to be on citizens insurance because I can't get a typical insurance policy. The major carriers are not there anymore. So that could be a reason why the market is cooling. And one more thing I want to add to this. All markets after September cool off because kids are back in school. And then we got Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. There just isn't that many sales during that time. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to crash. It could definitely cool off. I think Orlando's more primed to have that happen than, let's just say, Austin, Texas. This is just my opinion. Just my opinion. Rick Smith says Denver is overpriced, in my opinion. I've heard that for years. A lot of people said Denver was very overpriced. Charlton says that Texas had a bunch of tornadoes last week. I think we saw some tornadoes last night, all through the upper part of Louisiana and Mississippi and Arkansas. I was watching the Weather Channel. They were just circulations. I don't know if they touched the ground. Sterling Michael says, all mainstream media data are false data. You can count on this. Andy says, Facebook friends are posting that they want to downsize. My husband and I are going to downsize. As soon as these kids are done with college, that's it. We're downsizing. And they're going to take their cats with them too. All right, where's the next city? Yep. We already talked about Orlando. Let's go down a little bit more. Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, so this is so funny. They're really naming the same areas that had the biggest problem during the 2008 crash. So Phoenix, Arizona was one of them. Miami, Florida was another one. Las Vegas was another one. There's a lot of new construction around Phoenix. I don't know what their insurance and property taxes looks like, but let's just see what the article says. Like Boise, Phoenix is still seeing a rise in home values, but also like Boise, Phoenix could be vulnerable to price decreases as the pandemic boom keeps easing. During the pandemic, Phoenix saw a spike in the number of institutional investors purchasing real estate, which caused prices to rise. These investors might start selling off their properties when interest rates rise, oversaturation of the market, and lower prices. Arizona persistent water shortage problems may discourage potential newcomers and investors, which could lower the market for housing in that area. So let's just talk about speculators too, because I mean that happened. I mean, how many house flippers have we seen, over the years? There's a lot of people that are like, I'm going to make money in real estate and I'm going to flip properties. And then they're like, well, I can't flip properties. I'll rent properties. And then they find out that they're not really good property managers. It's possible that we could see a lot of these, I call them like backyard investors decide, you know what, I can't handle this. And then decide to get rid of all of their inventory at one time. It's possible. I think that's probably more possible in this area than some of the other cities that we looked at. All right, Eddie, let's scroll to the next one. Da-da-da-da. Let's see who the next one is. I bet it's going to be Las Vegas. It's got to be. Oh, no, it's San Francisco. I don't know enough about San Francisco. It says San Francisco has been the poster child for skyrocketing home prices in the U.S. with a typical home value of $1.26 million. While there is still heated competition for homes in San Francisco, that can change as more people flee the area. Due to the high cost of living and remote employment, which allows people to move to more affordable places, the Bay Area has seen a fall in population. Similar to Austin, San Francisco is susceptible to job losses and lower investment due to its reliance on the tech sector, which impacts housing demand and affordability. Well, as a lot more like what they used to say Silicon Valley and all those tech bros and stuff, a lot of them moved to Austin. A lot of those tech areas have moved to other areas around the country. So if you lose industry in your area, it's very possible, very, very possible that could be reflective of home prices. I mean, back in my day when I was a kid, there was a bust in oil, right? And I lived in Houston at the time, and I was a kid. So I was a young little whippersnapper. And I remember like all the people that worked for like Exxon Mobil and all these that had like their company basically had moved them to the area. They were like, we're going to move you to another area because this is a flop here. This is it. We're going to have to sell your home. So like homes that were really expensive, once that like bubble popped in oil, they all had to go in the market at the same time. Industry had left, home values started to go down. And this was in Kingwood, Texas in the 80s. So if you start seeing that in San Francisco, it's very possible that it could go down even more. Eddie, was there any more houses on that list or any more cities on that list for possible decline in a decade?
No, there wasn't.
There wasn't anymore. Yeah. And then there was so you got to show the other article. So that was like the doom and gloom part of it. There was an article that came out said there was like, these are going to be the hottest housing markets. Who's up first says, question. I wonder if houseboats should be an alternative. Pink Floyd's David Gilman lives on a houseboat on the River Thames. What if you boated up and down the Atlantic? What state do you pay taxes on? So this is common in Seattle. You remember that movie Sleepless in Seattle? You can actually rent space to have a house on the river, and it's considered real estate. I don't know how their tax situation works, but you can live on a boat. There's like certain parameters it has to meet in order for it to be considered a houseboat. I have no idea. I should probably get somebody to do that. But yeah, it's definitely an option. I couldn't do it. I get seasick. No way. These are the top 10 housing markets hotspots to watch for in 2025. Home buyers will have more success with these areas next year. So Zachary Kusin has written this article. So what is, I'm just going to go over the cities. We're not going to read it. We're just going to go over the cities. All right. This is a hot spot. Boston, which is too high, too expensive, very, 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 very expensive. The Carolinas, yeah, no stranger to that. We got Raleigh, North Carolina, South Carolina. Yep. Charlotte, there we go. The Carolinas. Yep. Let's see. Greenville, South Carolina. My brother used to live close to there. There's an area. If you guys are thinking about Greenville and you find it to be a little pricey, go to Travelers Rest. You can get yourself a nice house, friendly neighbors, good restaurants, plenty of churches. That is Travelers Rest, South Carolina. It's real close to Greenville. All right, we got Kansas City. It's affordable for younger generations. Is there any others? I'm going to scrolly down. What other one? Grand Rapids, Midwest, Grand Rapids, Michigan. All right. Keep scrolling, Edward. I think that was number 6. We got a couple more. All right, we got Boston, Massachusetts, Charlotte, North Carolina, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Greenville, South Carolina, Hartford, Connecticut, Indianapolis, Indiana, Kansas City, Missouri, Knoxville, Tennessee, Phoenix, Arizona, and Austin, San Antonio, and New Braunfels, Texas. I know some agents out in New Braunfels, but Cambridge, Massachusetts, I love me some Massachusetts. I'm from there, but they call it Taxachusetts for a reason. The taxes there it is a lot. They have a lot of services there, but you're going to be paying a lot for property taxes. Potato says with the potato icon says North Carolina's full. Sorry, we're closed. They're apparently accepting no new applicants. I've had that feeling before. Like, please don't move here. We're full. No more. When Eddie and I moved to this town, it was a sleepy little town. And I was like, I was so freaked out because I never lived in a neighborhood. When I walked out the door to get the newspaper, this is back when we used to have the newspaper delivered to our front door. I heard cows. Not only did I hear cows, I would hear the rooster across the way. And then as I'm pulling out of the neighborhood, they were raising miniature horses. And I'm like, it was cool when you had like little kids and we're like, look at the horsies. And I'm like, yeah. Just so out of the ordinary from what I was used to. But I loved seeing it every day. We had these roads that were blanketed with trees and everything. And this whole area, all the areas that I would have considered rural, that were full of cool little farms, and it was really fun to raise a family, are now all neighborhoods. Every single fun, great little farm that was here that I remember with our kids that we used to take around is now a housing development, another one. I'm like, oh, great. Another housing development. Great. Amanda says Texas to Georgia to Arkansas. Those were there were the number of tornadoes last night. Oh, there were a number of tornadoes last night. I know I'd seen it in Arkansas. We saw it because we're here in Louisiana and they were north of us, north of Baton Rouge. And we were watching them because we were under tornado watch all day yesterday. And the weather changed like in an instant. It would be like, I even saw the sun come out. As soon as I'd see the sun come out, within 10 minutes, then all of a sudden it was downpouring. It was a wild ride. I hope everybody is okay and they're able to get their houses repaired quickly. We've gotten hit, Eddie and I's house, that when we lived here in Louisiana, I was in the house when the house got hit by a tornado. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. That was very scary, very scary. So, got any more questions, Eddie, you want to throw up on the screen? Here we go. Multiple tornadoes have been reported in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi over the past couple of days, including an EF1 tornado near Fullerton, Louisiana on Friday. Yep, National Weather Service confirmed that 5 tornadoes in Texas and on Thursday included the EF1 in the Houston area that caused structural damages to numerous homes. And here's the thing too, since we're talking about homeowners insurance, if you're trying to find the cheapest rate, some of these insurance companies, and this happened to my husband and I, they they would say, well, we will cover you for insurance, but we're not going to cover any kind of hurricane damage. Or we'll cover you for hurricane damage, but just not wind and hail. Well, what happens with a freaking hurricane? You get wind and hail, right? Like, it was crazy. So whenever you're shopping, and please do shop insurance rates, um, make sure that they're giving you a policy that's going to really benefit you if something does happen, especially if you live in an area that is prone to acclimate weather, as they say. You know, suggestion: could you have AI Christina on on and ask her questions sometimes? I'd like to see that. Oh, you know what? Why don't we'll do this? Okay, so the I have a phone service, and it is an AI version of me. We're going to go ahead and call the AI Christina, because what you can do is you can dial the number 888-255-0197, and that's 888-255-0197. And this is what happens when you call. And now it is my voice, but it's an AI robot that has scrubbed my content and all the blog posts I've ever made and everything. So she does answer questions. But whatever question you ask on this service, it's recorded. And then I take that question and we talk about it here on the channel. So let's go ahead and call AI Christina. Do.
This is Kristina Smallhorn. Thanks for calling into my live stream. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Kristina Smallhorn.
Great to have you, Kristina. Could you let me know which city and state you're calling from?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Thanks, Kristina from Baton Rouge. What's your question for the live stream?
How much would it cost me to add an additional policy, like a flood policy on my house, if I didn't have flood insurance currently on my home?
That's a great question, Kristina. The cost of adding a flood insurance policy can vary based on several factors, like your home's location, its elevation, and the coverage amount you choose. It's best to contact an insurance agent who specializes in flood policies for a more accurate estimate tailored to your specific situation. Do you have any other questions related to real estate or Kristina's content?
No, not at this time. Can you have her ask that question on the live stream, please?
Absolutely, Kristina. I'll make sure your question about flood insurance is brought up during the live stream. Thanks for calling in, and I hope to see you there. Goodbye.
See, she's kind of saucy. You know, my AI lady, she's very flat. She's very grumpy. She's a little like matter of fact. And if you pause for half a second, or if she thinks that you were haven't said anything, she'll just talk right over you. So you just talk right over her. Just talk right over her. She's kind of rude. Not gonna lie. But it's a great service because I love doing these call-in. I'd like to do a call-in show, but the logistics of that is just not possible. This is the best way I can do a call-in show, but I will take the question part of the that recording that you make on this number, and then I will answer it live on this live stream. And that way you get to hear your voice and your question answered live. And sometimes I disagree with my AI Christina, because you know what? The robots aren't always right. The robots aren't always right. As much as I love them, they're not always right. We did get a question this week that did call in. I just didn't have time to download it and put it up. But she asked the question of if you could repeat who you could find repossessed mobile homes from. So the whole conversation was about finding the most affordable way to get a house, right? And the cheapest way that I know that you could purchase a house is to go to an auction and buy yourself a repossessed mobile home. Sometimes they're even brand new and never been lived in. They're like repossessed before they were even had utilities plugged into them. It happens. And you can go to your local credit unions and ask where their foreclosure auction is. Just know that you're going to have to pay cash right then and there. There's no mortgages, no nothing. And you're going to have to pay for it to be like taken off of their property and moved to your property. You might have a problem with insuring it, But if you're paying cash and you happen to have a piece of land, and this is a mobile home that's only a few years old, and you're putting it on this piece of land, that's the cheapest way you can get a house. The other place you can find foreclosed properties is their tax auctions. Sometimes they'll have like boats and mobile homes, RVs, all sorts of stuff. So that's where you're going to find those foreclosed mobile homes. So that was the question. I didn't get to put it on the screen this week. So Rick Smith says Massachusetts has some of the best healthcare in the United States. And I will say it has some of the best schooling. I grew up there when I was younger. And when I moved, I was like miles ahead of the other kids. So, I mean, when we went to school, the weirdest thing to me was when I went to school in Massachusetts, you just went to school. You had a book bag, it had nothing in it. When I went to school in the South, they were like, you need to have folders, you need to have paper, you need to have pens, you need to have paper towels, you need to have tissues, you need to have chalk for the teachers. I couldn't believe the laundry basket of stuff that we had to bring in to go to school, to start school. And every kid had to bring that in. And I'm like, well, what does our property taxes pay for? Question of the hour. I don't know. V-Man has a question. It says, will the city allow me to subdivide a property with a small mortgage on it and build a new house and then sell the new build, or wait to tell the mortgage is free and clear? I would take your idea to planning and zoning and see if you're allowed to subdivide it. I would also talk to your mortgage company. Most likely, they're not going to allow you to subdivide it. You have to be mortgage free first before you can subdivide it. In some cases, though, if you happen to work with like a local lender that they may work with you, right? If it happens to be a local mortgage company or a local credit union, and it happens to be a land loan, and you happen to have 10 acres, and the 10, you can subdivide it into 5 acres, and that still would be the same amount of the 10 acres for the 5 acres. It would be like almost like you're subdividing it. You'd still have the same value of that land that was subdivided. They'll allow you to do that. You'll just have to restructure your loan. It depends. It's possible, yes. In not all cases you'll be able to do that. In some cases you will be. Best bet, though, the easiest way is buy it free and clear and then subdivide. But you still have to go with the planning and zoning to see if you're allowed to subdivide that acreage. There might be some rule saying that you can't. Please discuss a reverse mortgage as it means to pay off life repairs on ready to sell. I am not a mortgage broker. I don't know enough about reverse mortgages to make a educated comment on it. But the person I tell you to go talk to is Kyle Seagraves. And you go over to Win the House You Love, the channel Win the House You Love with Kyle Seagraves, and he will talk to you about reverse mortgages. I don't know enough about them to give my stamp of approval or disapproval. I know people do them. One of my friends who is a mortgage lender, his mom's doing a reverse mortgage. Man, my throat's getting dry. I don't know if you guys know this, but outside of doing my YouTube channel, I also have a real estate course for real estate agents. So if they wanted to build up their YouTube channel and learn how to like film themselves and what cameras to use and what things they should talk about on their YouTube channels, I have an entire course for that. It's the only thing I sell. It's the only thing I currently sell. So if you go to realestatevideogeeks.com, me and my business partner, Joe Eves, there he is, we have this course. So if you guys know a real estate agent that was thinking about getting into the YouTube space and wants a little extra help, little helping hand, I will gladly help them out. And all you have to do is sign up for the course. That's realestatevideogeeks.com. There is a link in the description of this video. I would love to see your real estate friends. Let me know if you sent somebody. It'll be interesting. We have another round. It's all live training. So we have another round opening up in a couple weeks. And maybe if you send them, I'll give them a discount. So, and if you were looking to, there it is. Kyle, there he is. Win the House You Love, Kyle Seagraves. He's usually a guest on here as well. He's my favorite lender on the YouTubes. So don't forget, next week, if you want to have your question asked live on the air, you can go ahead and call that number and talk to the evil AI Kristina. It's 888-255-0197. AI Kristina, should I marry Taylor Swift? Oh, go ahead and ask. You can ask the AI anything. Really, honestly, you can ask her anything. And sometimes she'll say, can we just stick to real estate questions, please? She gets really saucy. She does. I try to goof her up a little bit. Rick Smith says, AI Kristina, what should I do for the rest of my life? Ask her. Go call. Ask all those questions. Ask her. If you guys want to take this show right here and give it to your friends and family, you can always go to wherever you listen to podcasts. You just type in Real Estate for Everyone with Kristina Smallhorn. And this podcast right here, this live stream, will be as a podcast on Monday morning. Eddie always publishes it live on Monday morning. I want everybody to make sure they have a super mega awesome happy new year that is coming up. New Year's Eve is coming up on Wednesday. So make sure you have a super mega awesome New Year's Day. I want to say thank you to our moderators that always kept the chat clean. We got Lawnmower and Debbie Brady. And I think I saw Clark, the realtor, in there as well. Eddie was going to go ahead and run this. Look at that. Look at that. He did a little, he's doing a little Happy New Year. Happy New Year. If there's anything specific you want to talk about next week on the show, make sure you put it in the comments section after this is published. And I hope you have a very safe and wonderful New Year's Eve. Eddie, without further ado, can you go ahead and roll that end clip, please? Yay. Happy New Year.
Kristina signing off, this stream's about to close. Tiny homes, big dreams, the wisdom she bestows. Real estate queen, always keeping us in toes. Hustle on 1,000, every vibe she shows.